Welcome back, everyone. It can be tough when faced with a disability to let others know what you have the ability to do, but Steve Salmon has made that his mission. He is a forensics teaching assistant at MATC, and he has also now written 2 books to show that those with disabilities can be and are productive members of our communities. And Steve joins us today to talk about his second book, along with his interpreter, Patrick Barlow. Thank you both very much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
So, 2 books. Steve, what gave you the idea to go ahead and write these?
He wanted to be a writer, and he wanted to be able to tell his story to the world.
And he had an inspiration for doing that, I know.
I think much of his inspiration, Stephen, comes from his classmates in school, both at MATC, and then when Stephen left MATC with a degree, went to UW Stevens Point.
Now, your first book sounds a little bit like your own life. Can you tell us just a little bit about that?
It's about his childhood and about the time he spent as a young adult, and most of it is autobiographical.
It is.
Yeah, it's quite stirring, really.
And his classmates inspired him to write this?
Yes, in particular, he had 3 classmates at UW Stevens Point in the English program where he was a student, and who have gone on to be high school faculty members around the state. And those 3 classmates, along with some of us at MATC, have been Stephen's kind of support group and his cheering section as well.
Now, I know that this isn't one of the questions that we had planned out, Steve, but the process in which you're able to write, I think, is fascinating. And I'm wondering if you can tell us about it.
He uses a computer program that allows him to write on the computer, and he's had more than one of those programs. And the newest one, my understanding anyway, is that it actually uses eye recognition technology that allows him to look at the screen and choose a character on the screen and write that way, 1 letter at a time.
1 letter at a time.
Yeah.
So how long does a book take?
How long does your most recent book take, Stephen? 2 years.
2 years.
2 years.
Wow, quite an accomplishment. So the main message that, Steve, you would like to get out to the public?
Well, I think we talked about it just a few moments ago, and the main message that Stephen wants to get out is that disabled writers have a message to share with the rest of the world, and that message is valid, and it needs to be heard, and that they can write too. Stephen wants to earn his living as a writer, and I can honestly say he's one of the most persistent people I've ever met in my lifetime, because he will not give up that dream, and that's pretty amazing when you think about the life that he's had to lead.
Patrick, the lessons you've seen Steve teach other people just through what he has been able to accomplish.
Oh, they're amazing. Stephen used to review outlines for my students in my public speaking course, and he has great insight not only into the writing process, but he also has great insight into the communicating process. Understand what he goes through every moment of every day to simply try to have the kind of conversation we're having right now, and that he continues to persist in that, and he can listen to someone who's more fortunate and able to speak regularly, and he can really provide a lot of guidance to people in their communication skills.
Well, I know that the books are not available in bookstores. You can't get them in.
But his most recent one, The Unusual Writer, is in fact available on Amazon.com.
And they're not in the bookstores because you can't get a literary agent, right?
You can't get it. It's sort
To
of like,
represent you.
It's sort of like being in show business. You know, you can't get in until you're in, and then you can get a union card, and then you can't have a union card until you actually work. So.
Well, a unique perspective. Stephen, thank you so much for coming in. Welcome and sharing your accomplishments with us. And again, I know one of the other messages is don't judge a book by its cover.
Absolutely.
Right? Thank you both very much for joining us this morning. We really appreciate you coming in. If you'd like more information on the book, you can find it at NBC15.com.
Very good.
Still ahead this morning at 11, buckle up, a warning for pregnant women who don't wear their seatbelts in the car. That story and more coming up in the day's health headlines. We'll be right back.